As the title says, I'm going to dedicate this vlog to a feeling that everybody goes through at some point in life. Love. A strong feeling. A feeling that we as human beings are not able to control. And sometimes we just end up asking ourselves questions like, what is this thing we call love? Where does it come from? And more importantly, why aren't we able to control it? I'm going to go through some of my understandings from experiences that I've been so far able to live. We were small. When we saw someone we liked, we started to feel something tickling inside of us. Even though we didn't know what that feeling was or why it was there, we tried to spend most of the time with that person because we felt good, we felt happy. Our parents, by their own experiences, already knew what was going on with us and would start teasing us with questions like, so you've got a girlfriend, huh? What's her name? And we, as small kids, didn't like when our parents would ask questions like that. We usually got shy. We didn't want anybody to know about our so-called puppy love. With the time, however, we grew up and got to understand more and more what those feelings actually were. We got to experience them again, but in a totally different way. We met someone that was on our taste, and we started to feel those butterflies again. Just that this time, we finally understood what those were. We began talking about our lives, telling the other person things that we normally wouldn't tell our parents or other people. We shared our secrets. Small or big, it didn't matter, because we felt like we could tell anything to the other person. And so, after days and nights of talking and sharing stories with the person that, as we like to say, fell in love with, someone had to ask the question that would start a relationship. Usually in the beginning, both parts want to impress the other one by buying all sort of gifts, by greeting one another, by telling each other cheesy words, by planning future events together and so on. But as the time passes by, something starts to happen. After doing almost everything that could be done together, after being around each other for the whole time, someone starts to kind of drift away. And that is when the other person begins to take control over the relationship. When the vanity comes in. That is the beginning of the well-known process of breaking up. When the two start blaming each other, both trying to come up with something to attack the other one with. Two people that loved each other became two total strangers that wouldn't even look at each other on the street. The well-known saying, I thought I finally found my other half. We spend our energy finding halves, found it for a while, but then we realized that it wasn't our half. And so we wander around, finding halves, without realizing that we, as a spirit, are a whole, not a half. One of the biggest mistakes that we do is that we put our happiness in other persons. And with that, fear starts to show up. The fear of losing that someone. The fear that has a voice which sounds like, if that person leaves me, it will take my happiness with it, and I can't let that happen. And because of that fear, the process of restriction begins. But that can't be called for love anymore, because love and control never went well together. Control comes from fear. And when that makes its appearance into a relationship, the trust and the freedom slowly starts to fade away. The roads often diverge. Two people are rarely meant to be together for a lifetime. People change, and that is why I can't agree with marriage, and I'll explain myself why. According to the Bible, marriage is an unmissable event from someone's life. But when I look around me, I can't seem to find two people that got happier after marriage. I see that two free souls, two people full of energy got tied together with a chain. Judging by that, I never seem to understood what kind of benefits marriage has. I never saw two people loving each other more after signing a couple of papers. I never figured out how tying yourself to someone could bring more happiness to the relationship. But instead, I saw that the happiness slowly started to vanish after the papers were signed. That instead of getting excited, spending time with the loved one, it got to the point where it became something unspecial, something usual. There were no more laughs, no more smiles, but instead just arguments, just reproaches against each other. And if the marriage doesn't bring you any more joy, it is not that easy to get out of it. Hundreds of papers must be combated and a lot of other things that are not quite enjoyable. But after I've realized how messed up marriages are these days, with all the divorces and all the fights, I was interested to know how marriages were before, and I saw a huge difference. I saw that they didn't have to sign life contracts, that they didn't promise anything because they knew that people change, that two people are not designed to be together forever. They didn't use words like, "You are mine and I'm yours forever, whatever happens." Weddings didn't sound like they do today, but something more like, "As long as I feel good beside you, I'll stay." And if it will happen that our roads will at some point diverge, we will not end up with hate, with a fight, but with peace, with a hug.